I can tell you this, I would not be in a hurry to stand trial twice in a murder case that could end with me getting a death sentence. And I am betting that Luigi Mangione feels the same way. But when it comes to which trial Luigi's going to face first, the New York State trial with a possible life sentence, or the federal trial with a death penalty, the accused CEO killer definitely wants to start big with the feds and the death thing. His legal team made that point in a court filing that also blasts the state prosecutors for calling the killing, quote, terrorism, end quote, and for releasing parts of Luigi's so-called manifesto, which the defense says may not even be admissible at trial. But there you go, it's out there, all over the news, right? Potential jurors have all read it. But most of all, Luigi's lawyers say that he has to defend himself in the state case before the federal case. Mangione would give the federal prosecutors an unfair advantage in that circumstance, and his life is on the line, right? You open up all your cards in the state case, and the feds get to use it, and the consequences are really big with the feds. It is not entirely settled as to which case is going to end up going first, but the state prosecutors definitely think that their case should go first. And Team Luigi says it would be unprecedented if that happened, not to mention unconstitutional if that happened. Joining me now with her thoughts is Alexandra Kazarian, senior trial attorney with Geragos Geragos and friend of the show. Is it, though? Is it, I mean, maybe it's unprecedented, but does that matter?
Absolutely, it matters. In a case where you have the death penalty on the line, you've got somebody's life literally on the line, not just a life in prison. That's not going to be the life that he wanted to live, where he could be put to death. What the prosecution in that federal case is going to do is pick apart every single thing that they can to show either that he's lying, to show that he's not being truthful. And in a state prosecution, in any prosecution in a case like this, there are so many pieces of evidence that may come in, may not come in, and elements that need to be proven by the prosecution that don't necessarily relate to each different crime, right? So in federal court, the elements of what he's being charged with may be completely different than the elements in state court. Sure, there's an overlapping murder, but the things that need to be proven individually differ. And what that means is that the defense in a state case could be significantly different than the defense in the federal case. And when that happens, you better believe that a federal prosecutor is going to say, wait a minute, that's not what he argued in the state case. He's lying, or they're changing their story. And so his ability to defend himself properly and fully really can only take place one time, because they're going to preview it and they're going to give the next prosecution a complete roadmap to what they may present, what they may argue, and it absolutely gives the prosecution an unfair advantage.
Let me ask you this, and I think I know the answer. I think it's grandstanding in politics. However, it's expensive to mount a trial against a guy like this. It's expensive. Why would somebody fight to go first? Why would the state fight to go first? Why wouldn't they just say, America, you take on the burden of the cost, and if he gets sentenced to death, then we don't have to?
Absolutely. It doesn't make any sense. It's for the glory. It's for the grandstanding. It's for the attention. There is absolutely no situation where if you were charged with a misdemeanor that was being charged simultaneously with a felony, there's no situation where a felony court would say, oh, no, sure, go ahead. You guys take a week, 2 weeks. Here, it's going to be 6 weeks. How many months? You guys go ahead and go first, and we'll wait. That makes absolutely no sense, especially when there's nowhere to go if he is convicted in the federal case. It is a death penalty case. What are you going to do? You're going to spend that time, and you're going to traumatize jurors. That's another thing that I don't think people really talk about, is having a jury decide whether somebody should be found guilty of murder, and having a jury decide whether somebody should be put to death is traumatizing for the jurors. Even that process of jury selection is traumatizing. So why would you do that to the jury? Those are people that are coming in, taking time away from their lives. And it's a very, very heavy burden when people actually do come in and commit to that. So there is no reason. There's no reason that it's
let me ask you something. I've been to this rodeo a few times, and I know that you death qualify jurors, right? For a death penalty case, you got to get death qualified jurors, and they're the ones who say, no, I'm good, I can do this. So is it such a burden if you get jurors who say, no, I can totally look a man in the eye and vote guilty and vote for death?
I'm telling you right now, there is not one juror that is being honest with themselves that says, oh yeah, totally, it's not a big deal, I can do that. It weighs heavy on every juror that makes that decision, because jurors that are going in there, if they are being flippant about it and going, yeah, cool, this sounds totally great, it's obvious that they're there. I think Mark is actually the one that has coined the term stealth jurors. They're there for a reason. They're there because they want to be there to find somebody guilty of the death penalty, and it doesn't matter what the evidence is. Though it's very obvious to both sides that that's not a fair juror. People who take it very seriously are the ones that both sides want, because the prosecution deserves a fair trial just like a defendant does. And so, yes, it does. It weighs very heavily.
Did you just say that Mark coined the term stealth juror, like Mark Geragos coined the term stealth jurors?
I do think he did. I'm going to give him credit for it, because I do think that he's the one that said it for the very first time.
All right, I'm going to look that up because I thought I did. I'm kidding. I just feel like I've been on TV that long. Alexandra Kazarian, thank you. I appreciate the conversation.
Thank you for watching. Subscribe below and download our NewsNation app right now on your phone, and you will get fact-based, unbiased news for all Americans.